Hello, Eline. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. Hello, Fabien.
Amazing. So let's start by getting to know your story a little bit better. Everyone in Brussels has a story, so I'm very interested to hear what's yours and what brought you to this life, this world, this city.
Well, that's an excellent question because indeed everyone's here for different reasons. Sometimes it's the same. I came here for work without a 5-year plan, and to be honest, I had no idea what Brussels was about. I had no idea that it could be part of your job to take a coffee, to network, to join events, just like that, mingling with new people, joining conversations, having a drink. So it was more a pragmatic move for me. I had heard that it's a buzzing city with people active in policy, which was quite good for the background I was equipped with. And what keeps me happy here is this constant intellectual stimulation that I get from the people around. Actually, people are quite, in French we say bienveillant with each other. They kind of have this care for each other, and I think that's what's keeping me here. Yeah.
Amazing, thank you. Moving on to a little bit of, zooming into your world. If you had to explain your day-to-day job to somebody who's outside Brussels, outside your bubble, what is one thing that would surprise them the most?
I think it's maybe, we have the feeling that maybe the people in Brussels, we have this idea that there's a lot of lobbyists. I think what might surprise people is that I always say everyone's a lobbyist, even including people working in the institutions. And it's actually part of what the EU process is about. It's the constructive conversations that you have, that everyone has its seat at a table. And it's not this shabby world where things are not going in a transparent manner. So I think that is one thing that I would think would potentially surprise people. And in my area, if we talk about digital policy, when you say digital or tech, people think, oh, that's all about algorithms, about coding, programming, things that are quite technical that way. But I've seen people in my field, and including my own, my own background is not. I'm not a programmer. I'm not an engineer. But you have social scientists, you have academic researchers, you have ethics specialists, you have lawyers, you have all kinds of backgrounds, and I think that's also another surprising thing that people might hear if I tell them what I do.
Amazing, thank you. And indeed, zooming in on the digital policy aspect, is there a myth about that area that you wish you could burst once and for all for people?
I think it's actually pretty much what I mentioned, is that it's an easy environment to connect more than people think. It's an easy environment to develop into as a professional. And it's not behind dark and closed curtains. Very much of that happens, it's just a coffee, like I said, just a meeting. Hey, I'd like to know your story. I'd like to meet you. And I think the fact that people may use a network not as everyone has an agenda. That's always what I think and what I believe. You should always be pragmatic and always keep that in mind. But everyone is also a valuable source of information to each other. You can be a colleague to each other one day, you never know. So everyone's treating each other that way. Like you can be friends, you can be professional friendships, it's really respecting each other that way.
Nice, I like that. And now on your personal story. Is there a decision that you made earlier in life that felt risky at the time, but that turned out to be important for later on?
Important in a good way, potentially. A couple of examples come to mind. I actually took a break at some point when I was in my 20s to be a flight attendant. I had a stable job, I had a stable life, I had great colleagues, and I still decided to, change everything, go for a low-paid job, actually with not an open-ended contract, leave the country. I was living in the Netherlands at the time, moved to London. And I think everyone thought I was maybe crazy or taking a risk. It felt good to me at the time, but it could have been indeed, it could have led me to anywhere else than Brussels. Eventually it led me to Brussels. And that's where my other example comes from, is when I changed again a job that I had here for something that, become an independent, starting my own company. And I was really scared at the time. I thought, it was a risky move, but it led me to understand myself and the system better and to relax a bit about being an independent in Brussels in particular. It's quite a safe place to be independent in, I would say.
That's nice to hear. Thank you. And these have been choices that led you to positive outcomes. Was there somewhat of a mistake or a misstep that you did that still taught you something that you carry today?
Yeah, I think it's not necessarily one specific concrete instance, but I think sometimes it's important to not consider every opportunity as an excuse to move on. It's good to stay put. And I think a couple of times I did move, or I did think of moving before giving a chance to stay in a role and try other things and to really capitalize on that. Because Brussels is a place where you have a lot of ambitious, restless people, and I myself love to change. So I think it's maybe that lesson that I keep with me, that sometimes it's good to stay put. Yeah.
Amazing. I relate to that a lot. Thank you. Is there a hill that you're willing to die on in the area that you work on?
A hill to die on? That question has a martial connotation. To me, I'm not an ideologist. I'm more pragmatic. I actually think Brussels is full of pragmatics too. I would rather say I don't think anything is worth putting your life or your dignity on the line. I think as long as you can respect each other and try to explain, say, I understand where you're coming from, I disagree, but I understand this is what you mean. I think it's much worth it, and it's much more kind of who I am. So.
Amazing. Mm-hmm. And also the heart of Brussels, as you said.
Yeah, indeed, yeah. Mm.
Amazing, thank you. And what is the biggest challenge that you see for yourself for digital policy on the horizon?
Not so much about myself, but more the field I work in. I think we forget sometimes to stay in touch and connected with the rest, because in Brussels we call it a bubble, right? And what we do in the digital world at the Commission, but also in industry, it does affect millions of citizens, and I think we tend to leave that a little bit on the side, and that's one big challenge for the professionals in our area. And if you look at the big picture, I think it's maybe because we have this struggle for Europe to stay competitive in what we call the global tech race. We are increasingly so finding ourselves kind of caught in the middle between US and China. And I think this is one of the big challenge ahead, is whether we will manage to pull this one off or not. And I think people even beyond the digital sphere are becoming increasingly aware of what that means. So I'm a bit, concerned about that.
Sure, as many, I imagine. Is there somebody whose ideas you respect deeply, even if you might disagree with them?
Like I said earlier, I respect people in all instances, and especially enjoy it if they disagree with me, to have this kind of back and forth arguments. I think that's enjoyable. But I think rather than one person in particular, I appreciate people who are also of that kind. People who are able to contribute with ideas and disagree with each other. I know that's not necessarily a great, sexy answer, but I like I like my coworkers and colleagues if they love to work, if they're nice, if they see beyond just the people that don't take it personal. I think that's very valuable. So yeah, would be my answer.
That's a good answer. And last, my favorite question: if your Brussels story had a soundtrack, which song would be on it and why?
Yeah, so I love to listen to podcasts in accelerated mode, so that's not the song, but music. What comes to mind is The Flight of the Bumblebee.
Okay.
It's a piece of music by Rimsky-Korsakov. It's a composer. Because you have this, when you hear bumblebee flying, it's very noisy, it's very restless, very much like this a bit like what we are in Brussels, going from meeting to the next, policy deadlines, darting, multiple encounters. It's this vibe, it's this speed that I find is very reflective in that piece of music. Yeah, and I think it has a consistency in itself as well. So it may sound very chaotic or look very chaotic, but I recognize a bit the buzzing vibe and sound in the city and the life I have here.
I love that. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me again. It's a pleasure.